Hello, my good friends. I am about 14 minutes early. I'm going live tonight with the head of, I'm trying to prevent my glasses from doing this weird thing on camera. So, I'm sorry. I am waiting for Notes to Self 444. Also known as Melanie. I have gone live with her before, but tonight we're going to go live. It's not till 6 o'clock, so I'm a little bit early, but I decided to go ahead and jump on. Big guy just got home. Still can't see you. They still can't see you. Look, do I have a filter on? I didn't know I had a filter on. There he is. Hey. He does exist. See? Oh, and there's Jingle too. I have all the people here. Hello, hello. Hi, Deborah. Once I see Melanie jump on, I will have her come on and go live with me. We're going to be answering all the questions tonight. If we're really lucky, maybe we'll get Mary to join us. It'd never happen, but I would love for that to happen. I know that her and Melanie know each other. So for those of you who don't know who Melanie is, I will just let me start with that since she's not on here yet. Melanie's father is currently the head of the AUB, which is the church that the Browns used to be part of. Sorry, I'm really trying to avoid the glare. There we go. So Melanie was brought up in the AUB and married into that, then divorced, and is now married to someone else who was also brought up in that, and they're not part of that anymore. But she has family that still is, and as I said, her dad is actually the head of the AUB, which is kind of a big deal. So it's very interesting to hear her take on Sister Wives. And I know this week she came out with a video that I was really interested in. She was talking about what she thinks Robin is trying to, shall we use the word manipulate with Coyote Pass. Her dad granted Mary's release. Correct. Because he's the head of the AUB church. So I can't imagine that dynamic. Like, knowing that the AUB is such a big deal and Sister Wives is, sorry, I'm just trying to keep my head down so y'all don't see the glare, but I have to be able to see your comments. And the only way I can see the comments is with my glasses on. Anyway, I think it just must be so weird to like see her dad and know like that her dad's the head of this church. I don't know. It just feels like that would just be so bizarre. Well, hey, I'm glad you called my live. We just sit around and shoot the breeze. That's all we do. I want to know what questions you have for Melanie. I put that out there this week and nobody told me. I want to know, oh, hey, what things do you want to know from her before she jumps on here? I know I have a few things I want to know. I want to hear about her theory about Robin and Coyote Pass. I'm very interested to hear that. Oh, thank you, Lunabelle. These are from Temu. Temu. Let me just tell you about Temu lately. Temu's starting to irritate me a little bit. They have started this deal now where if you order from them and it's coming over on a boat, it's free shipping. But if it's a local warehouse, you pay $2.49 or $2.99 per item. Per item. I had a bunch of stuff in my cart the other day and they wanted to charge me like $48 shipping. And I was like, negative. And they were all stuff that was here in the States. The stuff that was coming from China was free. I was like, make that make sense. How do they get people to accept and believe in it? Oh, okay. You know what? I might have some insight into that. Not that I've ever been part of the AUB. You didn't get your entire order. Yeah, see, Temu, I feel like, is getting a little sketchy. Anyway, when you were I was brought up Mennonite. And when you are brought up in a certain culture, you are taught from the time you're little, that's just how it is. It's like, it's being taught like that gravity exists. So when you are 13, 14, 15, you don't really question whether it's truth. I do remember laying in bed as like probably a 13-year-old, and thinking, what if I'm part of a cult and I don't know it? What if everything they're teaching me is we've got it wrong and the rest of the world has it right? I remember thinking those things as a teenager. But it's like, I mean, I wasn't part of a cult, but you still, I think when you are in a religion that is very structured like that, you question those things, but you just accept them because everyone in your bubble has accepted them. All the adults that you've trusted have accepted that. And it wasn't until I got older that I started questioning some of the Mennonite beliefs where I was like, do I really believe that? And my parents encouraged that. My mom and dad were like, we want you to believe what you believe because you believe it, not because you've never been in the world outside of that. So my parents have always kind of, I mean, they know what they want me to believe, but they've always encouraged me to live by my own convictions, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I don't know how they can keep Cody and Robin on the show because what they show is total abuse to the kids. Oh, well, we can talk about that. As soon as if somebody sees her jump on here before I do, please tell me. That makes sense. I was raised Baptist. Yep. Fire and brimstone. Me too. Me too. I went to many a revival meeting where I sat there going, am I going straight to hell? Am I going straight to hell? Yeah. Wait till the tariffs hit. Oh, okay. We're not getting into politics tonight. We're not talking about that. Yeah, Timu, I really liked Timu for a while. And lately I've been like, wow. Raised Pentecostal. Yes, I had a lot of people in my neck of the woods that were Pentecostal. Same kind of feeling, Diana. Well, I'm gay, so technically I'm going to hell. There's a lot of people that would beg to differ with you, okay? So let's just not make that assumption. Wait, I missed some of these. This drives next week's episode. Cody asked if he has a physical relationship before married. Cody said, I'm going to. Okay, wait. Cody let it slip on one of the previous episodes that he was not a virgin when he married Mary. Let me write that down right now. Cody's virginity. We gonna ask about that tonight. We asking Miss Mel about that one. Yes, we are. Because I'm not gonna lie, when Cody came out with, I wasn't a virgin when I married Mary, I was like, what? I'm sorry, what? Rewind. Backwards. We need to rehear that again. Yeah. That was, I was like, well, they almost need Cody and Robin on the show. They need bad guys. See, that's what I keep saying. People keep saying they want a kickoff show with Christine and Janelle. And I'm like, it won't work. It will not work. How long until Melanie joins? At 6 o'clock. 5 minutes. But on the tell-all, he didn't want to answer. Yeah, who is Melanie? Okay, Melanie was raised in the AUB, which is the same church that the Browns used to belong to, which now they don't belong to. And her father is the head of the AUB. Her father is the one that granted Mary her release. How's that? How's that for being pretty close to the fire? Yeah, you're right, Luna. Who can resist that six-pack of abs? Did you see they played that clip again of him in his underwear just not long ago? I almost had to fast forward through it. I knew it was coming this time. It was when the realtor came out. I was like, oh, no, I can't do it again. I'm there for Cody and Robin, supervillains. Exactly. That explains why I've never seen you live. You're 3 hours ahead of me. Oh, that's very, and see, it's weird trying to figure out, when Melanie and I were talking about doing this, it was so hard to know what time to do it because we have so many time frames factoring in. Have you all had, look, Health Aid Kombucha. This is the Pink Lady Apple. Now I have it in my fun Christmas cup that somebody gave me for Christmas. It's actually pretty good. It's pretty good. It's supposed to be really good. Robin actually believing what is this? Believing she helped financially. Yes! I heard that quote too the last time. Great time to have coffee. Blue girl. How whaled up you want me to be? If I have coffee, we will be here all night long. Because I just wonder why one wife isn't enough to satisfy a man. Religion. They don't practice any. What's ion? She brought debt. Yes, she did. And I have a feeling she's brought more debt. Just saying. In my opinion. Anything I say on here is for my opinion, for entertainment purposes only. I know nothing. No one sue me. I'm at McDonald's eating a quarter pounder, just happened to catch the live. Woo! Hey, take that. I hope it's a quarter pounder with cheese. Because if you're eating a quarter pounder without cheese, shame on you. How can we be friends? Just kidding. I love you. But if you buy a Big Mac and take all the bread off the Big Mac and put it on top of that quarter pounder with cheese and then put French fries on the top as a bun. Oh my word. It is the best thing ever. McDonald's, name a burger after me. It's delicious. She likes best of the best and the other wives just needed to go look for her. Oh my word. I have cheese, just no pickle. I agree with that. I like the pickles, but I pull them off and eat them and no onions. The onions have to go. But I need a double cheese. I need a Big Mac on top of that. Yes, your girl's a pig. Hey, what are we talking about? All things. So Melanie, whose dad is the head of the AUB, is joining us live. There she is. Hey there. Do I need to go live to join you? No, I'm going to invite you right now, Melanie. I was waiting for you to come. How do I invite you? Quickly. No, I don't want to pin the comment. I want to invite you to go live. There we go. Guest. Invitation sent. Now, if you just accept the invitation. Oh, sorry, people. You should be able to join, Melanie. There, I turned my light on. How long was Cody and Robin's courtship, and how did the other wives not notice the red flags? Good question. Is there consequences from the church for Cody about abandoning Mary? Oh, excellent question. Okay. Melanie, did you get your invite? Accept it, love. Accept it. You've been invited. Where you at? Melanie. Haha, I'm getting there. Okay. All right. Da 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 da. Y'all remember the questions because my brain is sieve. Okay. So we want to know if Cody's in trouble from her daddy. Melanie, you catch that? You can't see the invite anymore? Okay, I'll send it again. Guest. Yay!
Okay, I remember we had this problem last time. Oh, here we go, camera. Oh, there we go.
On. I've got your audio. There she is!
Perfect. We were trying to do this on our computer so that I didn't have to do it on my phone, but we're not able to figure it out yet. We're still so tech challenged over here.
That's okay. Look, this is my problem, okay? So I like this camera angle. This is good, except I can't read a blessed thing. So then I put these on and I'm like, oh, I can read now. And then the glare is terrible unless I go like this. So I'm like, so then if I put it up, then there's no glare. But then, they're looking down at me. So it is what it is.
Yep. And that's how Corey is too. So that's why he wanted it up on the computer so that he could read and see.
Yeah.
But I just told him we're just going to have to muscle through it and just.
Is he there?
You guys even want me on there.
There he is. Of course I want you on here. Get your silly self over here.
Yeah, here. We're going to just grab our, because we had everything up on our computer trying to figure it out. Okay. But now we're just going to grab we bring that around here, babe. Then that way we can you're not having my hand shaky, and we're just going to mount this onto this.
Absolutely. Take your time. We were just gathering questions.
Oh, yay. Okay.
No, I was watching that.
Oh, yeah. Corey, I guess, has been watching. So he might not be able to stay the entire time because he's today got busy for us. But he's going to stay in here as long as he can.
Absolutely. I'm good with that.
All right.
Look, I have all the things. I'm ready. I have kombucha in a glass. It's pink lady apple. I have water. And of course, I have a little vino. So we have all our bases covered tonight. Oh dear, where'd she go? Hey, Lizzie. Good to see you. There she is.
Gosh, what a joke. I'm so tech challenged. It's ridiculous. Okay, come on, baby.
Fine, it's fine. Okay, so first of all, we have to talk about this theory that you have about Coyote Pass.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. Go ahead and tell them what your thoughts are.
Now my mind went blank. What did I say?
You were talking about how Robin is actually, she's using reverse psychology a little bit with us.
Oh, so much. Yeah, Corey and I, let me turn down my light a little bit because it's like glaring in our face. We look like we're angels. Look how...
I know. Sitting on the right-hand side of God here.
Yeah, so I do. I feel like she uses reverse psychology in dang near everything she does. She's like, she has manipulation down to a tap. Like,
that's so funny because that's what I was going to say. Is some people say that it's reverse psychology. I'm going to call it manipulation, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. No, it's 100%. She is like got manipulation down there perfect. But yeah, I think that's why I think she did that with the big mansion, where she was just like, nope, I don't want it. Cody's forcing me to buy this house. Like, how ridiculous do you have to be? And then she just benefits from it off the hard work of all the other women. And I think that's what she's doing with Coyote Pass too. Someone somewhere said that they've already been taken off Coyote Pass, and that Cody bought them out, but I haven't heard anything like with that. So I don't know.
So that actually led me to one of my other questions. When I watch your lives, a lot of times you'll say, I haven't heard anything like that, or I've been asking around. So how does that work? I mean, you know my background and living in a close community. And when you're on the outer fringes and you're trying to find out like what the good gossip is on the ends, you have to be careful who you ask and how you ask. Mm-hmm. So how do you go about that now?
Honestly, I am not very like able to be secretive like that. I'm just like, listen, I'm doing a podcast. I want to know this for my podcast. Like, is this true or is this not true? And so I'm just like that blunt about it. And so I did a video on lists and like men making lists for polygamous women. And I literally just reached out to a bunch of my aunts and was just like, hey, a bunch of people that I know that live polygamy. I'm like, hey, I'm doing a little video on lists. And so I did the same thing with anytime I do that. So that's why I try to clear it up. Like, I don't have any inside scoop. This is 100% just my theory based on what I've seen.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not very, we're just kind of blunt. We just ask.
We just, ask questions.
I don't
and they don't, because you're probably with your relationship with your father, I would assume that helps a little bit. It's not like you're me asking.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, like, most of the time I'm asking family members.
Yeah.
And it's easy for me to just like, hey, this is kind of what I'm curious. Did you hear anything about this? Well,
yeah.
We did something. I can't remember what we asked about recently. And yeah, Corey can just call up to Montana.
My mom's on the phone tree up there, so
I'm telling you, those phone trees are a thing for real.
Phone trees are gossip line. So yep, they still have their old phone tree hookup. So
right,
they call it a prayer line.
And then I always tell people, you know, I'm going to probably talk about this publicly. So if you don't want me to, just tell me. Yeah. But I'm very respectful if people say, yeah, this is kind of what I heard, but I don't want that to come from me. And so I try to be really respectful of that.
I always like when you hear it from two different people and they both say that, because then you're like, okay, now I can say it and neither one knows where. You can just say, I heard from multiple sources and you're good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Katie says it. Phone tree is a 6 a.m. prayer circle.
Corey's little sister just jumped on the live.
Oh, is that Katie?
Yeah.
Hi, Katie.
Yeah, she's going to be our little mascot from now on. She's on all of our lives. We love it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Somebody asked if Cody got any repercussions from your dad granting Mary her release.
Like what kind of repercussions?
Well, for the fact that it was for abandonment. And he clearly, when they interviewed Cody on Sister Wives, it almost looked like a visceral reaction that he had to the fact that that happened.
Yeah, he was pretty upset about it for sure. So there's a bunch of different theories out there about like what really happens when you get a release. And so when Cody got the release from Mary, Mary got the release. Then he would at that point been considered an unworthy man, which would then automatically release all the other women, including Robin.
If they wanted to leave.
Yeah. And so
really?
Yeah. So there's people who believe that. Teachings. And then there's other people who believe, no, the women have to go in there and ask for a release individually. So it just kind of depends on, and I say this on all my lives, the AUB makes up the rules as they go along.
Yeah.
And so it really just kind of depends on who you talk to and what doctrine that particular person believes in. But that's what I was always taught, was it was the love of the woman that kept the sealing intact. If the woman didn't love the husband, there's no sealing, and then they don't need a release. But if she does love that's really what keeps it intact. And if he's an unworthy man, then he just automatically loses all of his wives.
I wonder if maybe that's why he reacted so harshly, because realistically, that would mean Robin could walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's just legally married to him. So that's the only binding right now. According to a lot of the teachings, that's the only binding that she has to Cody is her legal marriage. She doesn't have a spiritual marriage.
So now they are truly monogamous.
Wow.
So you guys got to clarify that question. Are you guys asking, is it a temporal punishment that he got, or is it a spiritual one? And
I think they just meant, my understanding was they wanted to know if he just got repercussions here, there, and wherever. You know what I mean?
Probably a strong worded talking to.
Yeah. He probably got a phone call, I would imagine, from your dad.
Oh yeah, he did. And he was really upset about it. And just, told my dad that he better not give Christine a release too. And because he didn't do anything that warranted a release from Christine. She's the one who took off and left. So yeah.
Yeah, but she wouldn't need one because Mary got one.
Right.
But
Right.
she left first. Mary didn't get one till later.
Yeah.
Oh, so that cancels that out?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
No.
Eventually it would matter, but at the time, I think that Cody is of the belief that only Mary is released from him. So that's what I'm saying. It depends on, when you get into these fringe cults, people make up their own rules and then they want to follow whatever they believe or whatever their dad taught them and so
Priesthood leader. Some of them, like my mother still believes in the teachings of the prophet before
which
Owen.
is Christine's grandpa.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
And so those teachings are the ones she goes by. They loosened up with Owen. Some people follow Owen's teachings type thing.
Yeah.
Then they got more strict with the next prophet. Then they, you know what I mean? They change back and forth depending on who's
the prophet is. Yeah.
So someone just brought up an interesting fact that, so Robin has this theory that you're not divorced until you sleep with someone. So we heard in this week's episode, Christine is really encouraging Janelle, just, you gotta go out there and find a man and sleep with him quick so you're divorced. And Janelle's like, I just don't roll that way. Where did Robin get that theory? Like,
that's taught everywhere. At
that point, she would have broken her covenant that she made in their endowment house. And so then there's an automatic release at that point. Mm-hmm. So
wow. So then is the woman considered married to this other person she just slept with, or no?
No. It means that she just forfeited her spiritual marriage to the person she was spiritually married to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is that a sin or no? That's not considered.
Oh yeah.
So it's still sinning.
It's adultery. Yeah. So she would be considered an adulterer. And so, yeah, that's what's so funny to me about, Cody's tryst in college, and if anything really happened with Robin and Cody before they got married, that would null and void all the other spiritual marriages too. So we were actually talking about this before you got on. My jaw about dropped to the floor when Cody so casually threw out there that he was not a virgin when he got married to Mary. And that he had his little fling in college, and that the only people he ever told that to was Mary and Robin, and that Christine and Janelle never knew that. First of all, if I was Christine and Janelle, I would be livid that, like, I'm finding this out on national TV, first of all. And second of all, how does that affect their marriage? Like, the fact that now he's openly admitting that, how does that factor in? I know. Well, again, it depends on who you're working with. Some women in that case they would all be offered a release if they wanted one because it was false pretenses. And I think he just threw that out there just to be spiteful and mean to Christine and Janelle. I don't think that, and I don't think that he normally, under normal circumstances, probably would have made that public to everybody. But he did that to say, look how close I was to Robin and not you.
Yeah.
And so he just did it to be mean. That's the only reason he said it. But yeah, I was a firm believer that there was no way him and Robin did anything before they were married. I have like defended that. And now I have a really hard time believing that. I think that there was some inappropriate.
Uh-huh.
I thought what we saw on TV was inappropriate.
Well, they did more than what Cody and Christine and Cody and Janelle did before marriage.
That's what I think too. That's absolutely what I think. I think that the fact that she had been married before and he clearly was, I think that virginity was out the window and,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah, I don't know for a fact, but it's happened, and it's happened a lot in polygamous families.
Mhm.
And what happens, like in my own particular family, I had an incident like this, and he gets his second wife. They have sex before marriage. Not my personal family, just in my extended family. So he gets his second wife, and they have sex right before marriage, and he's married to the first wife. She's already got a kid or two, and then he goes to get wife number 3. And now wife number 2 is jealous as can be because she knows what she did with him before they got married. So now she's like all worried about what he's doing with wife number 3 before they get married. So then wife number 4 comes along, and wife number 2 has now lost her mind. She's just like, no, I know what we did. So then she comes clean and admits that they messed around before they got married. And so, which of course destroyed the whole family. And so all the wives were offered a release. And then he went, you don't get to give them a release. I quit. And he left and took wife number 4 and left all 3 other wives.
Wow.
So, but I've also known it where like that will happen. And the person's just like, let's just pretend this never got brought up. Let's just brush this under the rug because of who that person is and the status of that person.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I've seen that with pregnancies in the Mennonite community. Somebody gets pregnant, has a baby 7 months after they're married, and just no one talks about it. The baby was born early kind of thing. And it's like, no, it was 9 pounds, wasn't born early, but everybody just pretends it was born early, you know, and move on. Somebody said, quit being naive. Cody drove 5 hours every weekend to see Robin. He was not being celibate.
I know, and I do get that naivety, whatever, how you want to say that. And I was even talking to my mom about it because my mom was up here and we watched the episode with my mom. And I was like, I would have sworn everything that they didn't have premarital sex. My mom's like, I know, but, now I think they did. My mom's like, I do too. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard because when you come from this culture, especially like where my mom, she followed all the rules all the time. It was like, she didn't even stop to think, wait, we could bend that rule? She didn't. She just followed the rules. And I did too. So I assumed everyone else did. Corey did not.
Me either.
I assumed everyone else. In fact, my baby, my oldest child, was born 3 days shy of me being married 9 months. Ooh. And everyone thought that I had to get married. And I was so offended by that because we went through the temple. We were sealed, and not Corey and I, but And so I was just like, I went through the temple. How do you think I didn't do that. I was so wounded. But that's just because, 3 days shy of 9 months, and I didn't mess around. I followed the rules, and my mom did too. But now there's just too much out there to be contrary. And I don't know. I have my own theories on that too, on his little tryst, and I'm going to hold him to myself for a while. But I think that,
and that's the thing, his tryst, if he had come clean with that at the very beginning when he was marrying Mary, the church would probably have required them to get married legally, wait a year, and then they could go through the temple, and then they could try to acquire another wife because he'd gone through. So usually you're supposed to tell the preacher or the bishop all of your sins so that he can make a decision whether you can go through that temple or not. And so Cody keeping that a secret, not only from, he told Mary, but he kept it a secret from his priesthood leaders and went through their temple anyhow. Then he goes and makes these sacred covenants with Janelle and then Christine, and doesn't tell them those secrets either. That's
Pretty
hidden.
big deal.
It's a big deal. They're going into a contract together or a covenant with each other, saying that they're both open and honest and telling everybody everything. So basically what he said there was, I haven't even told these women about what I did back in college.
Yeah.
I don't think he's completely fessed up to what he did back in college, and people are noting it in the comments, and I'm just going to say, we just going to leave that there. But we all have our suspicions as to what that was about.
Yeah. I think those suspicions are pretty spot on.
I agree. Because, you know, if there's one thing that I have learned, it's when people doth protest too much about something, there is usually a reason behind that. Which somebody said, what makes you think that Robin and Cody weren't celibate? Outside of the 5-hour thing, let's talk about the episode where Robin literally stood up in front of all those kids and preached about the importance of purity. Again, thou doth protest too much.
Mm-hmm.
I know. And that's, see, and I looked at her purity speech and I was like, no way did those two do anything before. And then he comes out with that and I'm like, damn it, I give people too much credit.
I looked at that purity speech the night it aired and I was like, them two been up to something.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because like I have an aunt and an uncle, and she was the most aggressive towards all of us all the time about, you guys are, you know, we were teenagers just doing stupid teenager stuff. We were not naughty kids. And she was like constantly hounding us all the time about, we're going to be out there having sex. We're out there losing our child, you know, not being chaste. Then we find out my cousin does her math and finds out, oh, she's born 6 months after her parents got married.
There it is.
Then she finds out her dad was married to someone else when her mom got pregnant. And so I'm like, really, this woman has like literally badgered me and made me feel like I was like the worst person on the planet, only for her to be, So I've learned that the hard way myself.
Yeah.
And so, but I try to give people too much credit, and people don't always deserve that much credit, especially when they show you who they are. So.
Well, it's just when you badger your kids and other people about being pure and righteous, but you're doing the exact same thing. That's the hypocrisy.
Runs deep.
Yeah, is so much that they have so much hypocrisy in their speeches. So
I would love, this is a question that I would love to ask Mary, and if you can't answer this, that's fine. I know that you talk to Mary at times, but is Mary starting, because it comes across like Mary is starting to see that Robin was never really her friend.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I think so too. I haven't met with Mary in a minute. We were going to try to get together in January, and January just got away from us.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we will try to get together again soon. I think, you know, and if we don't, that's okay, because I kind of feel like sometimes Mary wonders who's her real friend and who's her not. And
I agree.
And I don't want her to feel like I'm using her to come onto my shows or anything, or that I'm going to spill beans about her or some, you know. So
I have struggled with that because I keep trying and try. For a long time I was like, Mary, go live with me. And, you know, she would always joke around, but never. Oh, look, Mary's on. Hey, Mary.
Oh,
she said, we'll try. I know my friends. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, Mary. Because I have struggled with that. And like every time I would ask her to go live, I would feel like she thinks I'm just trying to get her to go live, you know?
Right.
And I wanted to ask Mary things that weren't about necessarily sister wives and more about like where she's at now. And some of the things that she has shown us who she is. Anyway, So, hi, Mary. Good to see you on here.
Yeah. And honestly, that's the biggest reason I haven't pushed it is because I know how that feels to feel like, are you really wanting to be my friend or are you just wanting to use me for a story? And I never want people to feel that way. And that's why when I do go back to my family members, hey, is this what's happened? I've heard this rumor online or whatever. I'll tell people flat out, if you don't want me to talk about this, I won't.
Then
And
I won't.
I really
Right,
do try to
right.
honor that.
Right. Right.
But yeah, with my mom going through her current separation with my dad and trying to come up with the legalities of property ownerships and stuff like that, that was the biggest reason I was wanting to talk to Mary about it, just because of the experience my mom's currently going through. And her attorney that's representing her is really good. He represents a lot of.
So, how long has it been that your mom left your dad?
It's been well, about 4 years.
I don't know that I realized it was that recently.
Yeah, it's only been, and even still, like she still lives down on the property. But
She's out of harmony with him for 4 years.
yeah,
Gotcha. Yeah.
just because my disabled brother lived with her for so long, and then he recently passed,
Okay.
and so that we weren't sure, like the stability of her housing. Would my dad still allow her to stay there? Because he was allowing her to stay there because of my disabled brother. And so that's where things have had to turn legal. And so it's just been a little bit, questionable. And so she was like, hey, will you get a hold of Mary and see if Mary knows anything about this kind of stuff? So that was the biggest reason. But I mean, I have always adored Mary. I mean, I feel like we've always gotten along really well.
When the show first aired, I just told somebody this the other day. I get flack all the time on my channel. All the time. People tell me that I am negative towards Christine and that I don't like Christine and I should just come out and say that I don't like Christine. And I'm like, I like Christine. The only one I dislike is Robin.
Right.
And that's because of the manipulation. I don't like people that manipulate. Right. I will have a drop down, drag out argument with you. I can hold my own. And then when we're done arguing, I can give you a hug and still love you and be cool.
Right.
I can't stand somebody that is passive aggressive and won't say what they mean and tries to manipulate my feelings.
Yeah.
I can't stand that. And when you watch this show, I did a video about this the other day. I said, when the show first aired, I felt sorry for Mary because she was going through all the fertility stuff. And you could see that she was searching to figure out her role and her place and her confidence and all the things. Christine has been Christine from day one and is still Christine.
Right.
And has never really wavered from who Christine is. Janelle, to me, Janelle has always come across as someone who is very confident in who she is, knows what she thinks, knows where she stands, and you're not going to get a big reaction out of Christine. I loved it when the episode aired where she told Cody to F off. I thought that was classic. I had to rewind and watch it a few times.
I love that.
Because Janelle is just who she is. And she's like, okay, well, I loved you, now don't, and then Robin is just the manipulator that just tries to manipulate everything. And I think for a long time, my heart kind of broke for Mary. And then I did, Mary, I'm going to say it because you've heard me say it. I'd say it to your face. I went through phases where I got really irritated with Mary because I wanted her to see the light and she just wouldn't see the light. And I think that was all of us. And yeah, part of that was filming and whatever. And now I'm just thrilled for Mary that she's living her best life. And same for Christine. And I said the other day, I said, unless I have pom-poms and I'm going, yay, yay, Christine, people think I'm coming for her. I'm just tired of the Christine narrative kind of on the show.
Right. And I do love to see the women empowerment that's happening right now with all three of them. I mean, I swear to God, these women are aging backwards. It's amazing.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, Mary looks the best she's ever looked, I think.
I agree.
She is looking amazing. Janelle looks happy, so I do love it.
Christine looks 10 years younger.
Yeah. Yeah,
she really does.
She really, what were you going to say?
Just, when I got excommunicated, it takes, you're raised from birth, believing a certain narrative of what it's going to take for you to get into heaven.
Yeah.
And it takes some time to unlearn.
Oh, They're coming right back, I promise. They're coming back. Take a sip. Everybody take a sip.
Sorry, I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb.
I said, they'll be right back. Everybody just hold on.
Yeah, it takes some time for you to unlearn all of that stuff you learned from childhood. And so you are trying your best based on your belief systems. And I'm 54 now, and I'm still unlearning stuff that I learned from as a little kid. So,
before you came on, somebody put in the questions, how do they convince you that this is right? And I said, I've never been in the AUB, and I wasn't in a cult, but I was raised conservative Mennonite. And I remember being little. And when everybody in your bubble believes the same thing, you're like, well, this must be right because everybody in your world believes it.
Right.
And I remember laying in bed when I was probably 13 and 14, that age where you're starting to kind of question stuff, and laying there and thinking, what if we're wrong and the rest of the world's right? And you're exactly right. When you walk away from something that you have been taught from the time you're an infant, it's like being told gravity doesn't exist.
Right. Yeah. It literally is. It's that real. And when I was saying at the beginning of the podcast or, the live is that I always looked for the best in people because that's where I always tried to toe the line. I always traded. And so that's why when people come after Mary, I'm like, it shows the kind of character she wants to believe the best in Robin. Yeah. So she did see the best in Robin. That's what she saw because that's where she was coming from. And we only see people where we're at. And so if we only see the negative in people, then what are we seeing about ourselves? If we're only seeing the and so we tend to give people the amount of grace that we give ourselves. Yeah. And so when people would say that stuff about Mary, oh, Mary's just like blind to all this. It's like, no, this is how she truly believes. And so she assumes and gives everybody else the credit that this is what they truly believe too.
Right.
This is how we were raised. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
but
I think that's kind of where I saw it too. And for a long time, I felt, that exact thought. I was just like, because it's easier for us to see it when we're seeing the clips of just Robin and just Cody.
Exactly.
And the other three of them weren't seeing those clips that we were seeing of just Robin and Cody. Right. And Robin, from day one, the manipulation was deep with the 11-day honeymoon. And even though we're not married, I need to be in the rotation. And it's like, why?
My favorite was when she would talk over the other wives as if being the expert. And or the one where she was like, well, I just didn't think you guys needed to know that. And I was like, excuse me, miss?
Yeah.
And what's funny is both of our mothers were here for Thanksgiving. And we've got these two little old ladies that have lived polygamy for well over 50 years of their lives, right? They're both on our couch in the recliners with their little blankets all the way up to there and their hot chocolate. And we're watching Sister Wives. And these two little old ladies are swearing like sailors at Robin. And I'm just like, what in the heck? And so I did get a few pictures because it was just so funny. But they're both, if you could hear their commentary, they were just like, who is this girl? Who does she I don't, the nerve of this girl. And so it was hilarious to watch these guys because
I wish the best for Robin. But to me, that means she needs to get away from Cody.
Yeah.
And I don't know how she can be her best living with someone like him. And okay, let's just talk about Aurora's baptism this past week.
Yeah.
Did anyone else notice that when Aurora said, I'd like you to help the pastor, that it appeared what Cody hears is, I'd like you to baptize me?
Yeah.
Because he's like, well, is it okay for me to do that? Like he immediately goes into, I'm that and I'm the minister. And I'm like, dude, no, They're asking you to hold her hand. You clearly have never been to a Christian baptism, because I can tell you, no, that is not what they're asking you to do. But it was all about him.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I mean, I feel like everything's all about Cody immediately. So I think that's what were you going to say?
It's a belief system that we grew up in. He holds the corrupt priesthood. And so by assisting, he's passing on that blessing through his priesthood. So,
I should have grabbed the glass.
I can't, that whole nonsense,
Well, it's funny too, because when my dad, out of the 34 kids that I grew up with, so we had 4 mothers, 34 kids that I grew up with. My dad's had a lot more, marriages and stuff like that since then. But most of those kids have not stayed in polygamy. They've left polygamy one way or the other. And my dad really had to come to terms with that. And so he really had to accept. And it took him years to finally go, you know what? The important thing for me is that my children believe in Christ. Yeah. And so then most of my siblings have gone to Christian churches outside of Mormonism or outside of anything. And my dad's attended every single one of those baptisms. And he hasn't made it all about him. He sits in the audience. He just watches it. He gets emotional. He cries because he believes that, he wants his children to give their lives to Christ. And that's more important to him.
That's beautiful. That's
beautiful. And here he is, the leader of the AUB, and he still goes to these things. This is not something that he quit doing when he became the leader, because these are so important to him. So.
That actually makes me think of something that one of the questions that I had for Mary was, if you no longer believe in this religion, but yet she went to talk to your dad to get the release, and what did that, not necessarily why did you do that, because I think I get why she did that, but was that like weird? But knowing that your dad is that way, that like he'll go to his kids and grandkids' baptism into a church that he does not belong to because he can put his own stuff aside, says a lot to me about why Mary would have been okay going to him and saying, hey, can you grant me this release? I've got video documentation of how I've been abandoned. Because, I mean, that was the smartest thing she could have done as far as dealing with Cody and Robin. And I get why she did it. I was just more thinking, wow, if I walked away from a church, going back to the church and being like, hey, but that makes sense to me if that's how your dad is.
Yeah.
So I can't speak for Mary. I can just only speak for us or my personal belief system at the time. I mean, if that had happened today, I'd have probably just ignored it and moved right on. But when we were first dating, she had only got married through the AUB, and I had family within the AUB. She has family within the AUB. Her dad's the leader of the AUB. How are they going to accept a marriage, a legal marriage between us, if she doesn't have the spiritual divorce? And so I wanted my family there. She wanted her family there. How are we going to legitimately get married? Which we could have. We could have just gone out there, but to make it official with
fences
family.
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably should go get an official release within the AUB before we get legally married.
And he actually broke up with me. I was like, are you serious right now? He was like, I can't see you anymore. I can't, and it's not because he gave any credence to the AUB, but we have family members that do.
I was no longer a part of it. I was excommunicated. But,
he was actually fully excommunicated.
But I wanted her to not feel shame, and the AUB has a way of dumping that shame on you. That, are they really married? They can't legally get married when they haven't gone through the process.
And you've seen that shame when Robin's over there. Christine's still married until she has sex with another man. So, I mean, you can see those levels of shame that happen
within the community. And
I have to say, one of my favorite episodes, the scenes, was when Cody looked Robin in the face and was just like, I'm not getting back with any of them. And she held on to that till the bitter end. And I've yet to understand kind of what that's about. Is it like, does she still believe in the religion and think that now Cody and her can't go to heaven because there's not 3 wives? Or what is her, like, draw to that?
Sister wife says.
She says all the things she's supposed to say. I don't think she really believes. I mean, I think because you're so indoctrinated that it's like saying gravity doesn't exist when we all know it does. And that's really what it is. I think that she's just it's so ingrained to her. And she's saying the things that she's supposed to say.
Okay.
So she looks good within the community.
Right. But does she really want to do that? No. But does it make good TV? Yes. So that's where I feel like, because even in the spring stuff that they're talking about, she even says, oh, are we going to just stay, monogamous forever? And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, girl? Like, you are beating a dead horse at this point. Yes. I mean, anybody who has a right mind is never going to enter that situation. If you are a single woman, you are never entering that situation with those two. Why would you? You're just asking for a miserable life if you step into that as another woman and try to marry him. And so I think it just makes for TV. And she's just saying the things that she's supposed to say to keep one foot in and one foot out. Yeah. And so that's my honest opinion about it. And so, yeah, I mean, I understand. The reason I didn't go after a release, I had very much the same attitude as Christine did. I did pursue a release for about 3 years and was declined because my ex-husband was good friends with the prophet at the time. And so my concerns were not addressed. And so finally I was done with it. And I was just like, listen, he had to go be tested. I had to go be tested for 1 million different STDs to make sure he didn't give me. And at that point I was just like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. Tell me how this is okay, that he can step outside of our marriage over and over. And I'm just supposed to keep forgiving him. And this goes right back to what I was saying earlier about it depends on who you are if it just gets brushed under the rug, because he can literally go out and hire sex workers and that's totally fine. But the minute that I say, all right, I'm done, that's not, you know what I mean? So it really just depends on who you are.
And yet they say the woman has all the power.
No. And so honestly, when Corey broke up with me, he was like, I can't see you anymore. I didn't realize that you hadn't done this. And I called the prophet that day. And I just lost my mind on him. And I'm done. I've been begging you for 4 years now to handle this. And he was like, all right, sweetheart, just come to my office today. And so my mom and me and my mom and my ex-husband, we all went there. And my ex-husband and the prophet are bawling their heads off. And they're like, we can't believe that you're really going to do this. And I'm like, are we done yet? Like, I got to go. I'm going out on a date with Corey tonight. So thanks. And so I had no heart he's like, how can you be so heartless? I'm like, I've been begging you for 4 years to stop stepping outside of our marriage. We have 3 small babies. I have a 1-year-old. Talk about heartless. So yeah. So that's what these men do in this religion it is such a patriarchal system that the men really do hold the majority of the power. And so for Mary to actually go get the release is honestly, in a sense, it's a completion. It's an energetic completion. And it's her taking her own power back and making her own decisions for herself. And now Cody has zero say on anything. Yeah. And so my ex-husband still thinks he owns me though. And it's been 25 years. So he still thinks he owns me.
I have to say, one of the most interesting things for me in the episodes now is watching Cody, because I feel like he has lived in the polygamy bubble where the man was it. He is all it, right? Talk about the priesthood. He's it.
Yeah.
For so long that he almost doesn't, that's why he reacts so strongly when viewers come for him, because he doesn't get it. That the rest of the world does not see it the way he sees it. Mm-mm. He has no comprehension of that.
Yeah.
And so in his little world, I think as these women started to leave, he thought he was going to look like the victim here.
I know. And it's so, I know. Okay, we go through this all the time. My dad's the victim of my mom right now. So bad. It is so unreal. And my dad's the victim of my podcast, of me getting out and talking about things.
Yeah.
And it's never about, the very first time I ever used the word cult online, I literally got a phone call from my dad the very next day. You will never use that word online again. And I'm like, I'm 48. I'll say whatever I want to say, but he was so victimized by that. And that's why a lot of people say to me, do you feel like this family purposely came out and deceived the world? And I'm like, I don't, because I don't either believe what they're doing. And they're genuinely, they're not looking at it as trying to be deceptive. But for the rest of us who know how this life is really lived, we're like, yeah, we're not watching that. That's not real. So.
Right. Well, and I think if you watch, this tells on my heritage, being brought up Mennonite, where what we wore was a big deal, right? Mm-hmm. So I always looked very different than the rest of the world. And when I went back probably a year and a half ago or so, and I watched from the beginning through, and when you start to see the women's clothing, you can see the change happening in subtle ways way before it was actually happening. Wow. At the very beginning of the show, none of them were wearing anything without a long sleeve shirt underneath of whatever they were wearing. Arms, elbows, everything were always covered. And then as the seasons progress, you start to see these subtle little changes. Makeup starts to be a thing. And then the long sleeve shirts go to like quarter length sleeves, and then they're short sleeves, and then, and you see the progression kind of happen. And it's almost, in some ways, I feel like you see Cody, for lack of a better way to say it, losing control of these women, because these women are kind of learning to stand on their own 2 feet and say, wait a minute, I am independently running this household with 5 kids or 1 kid or whatever without you around, because he was with Robin so much. And I don't know that I'm buying all this bubble we're living in. And that's when you see Cody kind of hit the panic button.
Mm-hmm. And then he maybe I need to go back to patriarchy. Because he did. He lost control.
It took years. I mean, it took me, I still feel more I've been away 35 years, and I still feel more comfortable when I've got it zipped up to the neck.
Yeah.
Than having it zipped down. So it's something that has been ingrained with me since I was a little tiny kid, to be fully clothed, long sleeve shirts. It's taken a while. Now I wear shorts and
Well, and that's when I think they weren't faking it.
Yeah.
Right. They weren't faking it, because if they were faking it from the beginning, these women would have been hot and pushing at this. Yeah. They were. That's how they were living their life, and it's very obvious that's how they were living their life.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was so faithful to wearing my garments. I never took them off ever. We were talking about a couple of different times when I had a medical emergency with one of my children. And I was just at home and I was washing my garments, so I didn't have any on in the moment. And then all of a sudden the ambulance showed up, and all these men showed up in my house. And I was like, I am 20. I'm 20 with 2 babies, and I felt naked. And I was modestly covered. I wasn't in anything that was immodest by any means, but because I didn't have my garments on and they weren't long sleeved and they weren't all the way up here, I was literally in a panic. And then we had to ride in an ambulance to the hospital. And I remember just having the fear of God in me, that what if the ambulance crashes because I don't have my garments on? What if, and just that level of indoctrination was so, and I remember getting to the hospital, and the first call I made, here's my daughter in this total medical emergency. And the first call I make is to my mom to make sure she can bring me proper clothing to wear at the hospital so I can properly attend to my daughter.
Mine was the covering that you wore on your head.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't allowed to pray unless we had a covering on our head. And so when we would sit down to eat dinner, if my mom had washed her hair or something, she can you run and go get me a covering, you know? And I remember being little and seeing, you know, people be camping or whatever, and they'd be like, I don't have a covering, and they'd grab like a napkin or something to put on their head so they could pray.
Yeah.
And me as a kid thinking that is so stupid, you know, even then that seemed stupid to me.
Right.
But
no, it's interesting too, because you know, when I very first took my very first class on learning personal responsibility or personal accountability, I did not realize how unintegratable most of the way I lived my life was. I just didn't know that. I didn't see that. I didn't see that because this is what we grew up with. This is what we saw. We didn't see the lack of integrity in relationships, in the way that we communicated with each other. And all of a sudden it started to wake me up, and I started to see, wait a minute, this is not very integratable. The way my husband speaks to me is so out of integrity. The way that he speaks to my children, the way that my dad speaks to me. And so it really, but when that's all you know, then that's what you know. And you think that you're living an integrable, honorable life.
yeah.
And then you realize that you're not. And then you start to make those changes, and you fall out of alignment with the religion at that point. Because
I think if I had to pick, I don't know, it would be hard to pick a favorite scene from the show, but one of my favorite scenes of all time is, I mean, obviously when Janelle tells him to F off.
that was great. I won't lie.
But the scene at the very beginning when him and Mary go on vacation, I think is it Mexico? And she leans into him and she says, he's like preaching at her about being jealous. And she leans in and she said, just think about it. How would you feel if I was married to you? Oh, I have to drag the puzzle piece. Hold on. There we go. Otherwise, they weren't going to let me stay on. If I was married to you and 3 other men at the same time,
Right.
and you only had me,
Right.
and he like
Was
looked
so
like,
offended.
oh, he told her it was vulgar.
Yeah.
He said that's the word he used. I will never forget it. He said he got angry, and he said that is vulgar for you to even suggest that.
Yep.
And I remember watching that and thinking, no, it's vulgar that makes you mad, because you are openly sleeping with 3 other women and telling her not to be jealous about it. And all she's asking you to do is look at it from the other side, and you're calling that vulgar.
Yeah.
Like, that was just crazy to me. And that was one of the very first episodes. And I remember watching that thinking, I have a problem with this man.
And it's because of the belief system they are taught from very young. Doctrine and Covenants, section 132, says that a man is supposed to have multiple wives to get all of them into heaven. And it says nothing about, and if 132 wasn't there, they'd probably all be monogamous. So
why does the man having 3 wives get everybody into heaven, but a woman having 3 husbands doesn't get them all into heaven?
That's the way it's taught in 132. That's the scripture that they're reading, that they're basing that whole belief system on.
Wow.
So,
It's because women can produce children, men can't. It would seem ridiculous for one woman to have, she can only have 1 baby at a time, where a man can have multiple babies at a time. And the whole point is to multiply and replenish the earth with righteous children. That's the whole point of it.
and I'll tell you why. It's because 132 was written by Joseph Smith, not Emma Smith. So if it had been written by Emma Smith, it would have been a little different. But
Yeah. I like that theory. I like that theory.
Really true.
Yeah.
but they believe
listen,
it.
I've got to go, but this has been absolutely delightful.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I know. I was like, you were my very first interview that I ever did. So
Mhm.
You know, I have gotten multiple comments lately. People are like, you should really go live with Notes to Self 444. And I was like, it's posted on YouTube.
I know.
Already did it.
I know. We've really been working on growing our YouTube channel too.
I was going to, but it's been tough.
Yeah. I started on YouTube. I actually never was going to come to TikTok, but my kids talked me into it. And that's really where I've gotten seen. And then, yeah, but I started on YouTube, and that's probably where because you get
struggle.
YouTube.
TikTok feels like home to me. YouTube feels like I'm going to my aunt's house.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
TikTok is, I've got 39 followers, and they're all my brothers and sisters. So.
I think I'm one of them.
Yeah.
How are you?
I think so.
Probably.
I'm incognito on there, so.
Yeah, well, we should do this again more often.
Yep.
We should do it and like maybe pick apart a couple of the episodes. I think that would be fun.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that.
Yeah.
We should set something up a little more regular.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like the third Tuesday of every month or something where we can hash through the episodes.
Yeah, we should. We love it. We love, like, at first we were so scared to do it, talking him into even coming on. He was like, absolutely not. We have had such a great time. Like, just bantering back and forth and talking.
Oh, and I've been watching YouTube, also on this, because I'm like, oh, she's got great snarkiness too, just like me. So.
My snarkiness has been getting me in trouble this week.
Well, that's what I was afraid, that my snarkiness was going to get me in trouble, but I'm still doing good.
You know what? I kind of take the approach of, like, I'll explain where I'm coming from. I'm not going to change who I am.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
We love it. Yeah. Thank you so much for when I threw that suggestion out there and you jumped right on it. I was like, great, this is awesome. So I love it. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we'll be in touch and we'll set something up a little more regular so people can count on it. I would love to do that.
Okay. Totally down for it.
All right.
So yeah. You guys have
nice talking to you. We will see you again soon. Bye everybody. Thanks for joining the live.
Yeah, thanks guys.